Hey everyone, this is Scott Grill. Welcome to another edition of ReWatching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Today I'm talking about Season 5, Episode 20, The One Who Will Save Us All. I'm just going to be starting off with the plot summary and just talking my general thoughts after having just finished rewatching this episode. So that plot summary says, after arriving on Corvus' ship, Talbot assumes leadership and demands an audience with the Confederacy. To prove himself, Talbot expresses control over his new abilities by killing one of the leaders and taking his place in the Confederacy. Caecilius' father, Tyron, attempts to manipulate Talbot into increasing his powers by revealing untapped subterranean deposits of gravitonium on Earth, which would allow him to save the world from Thanos' imminent invasion. Coulson and Hale fail to convince him of Tyron's true motivations and are forced to comply. Back at the lighthouse, an opium-powered warrior attacks Mac before succumbing to the substance. As Simmons studies the opium, Daisy returns with her mother's corpse and the centipede serum, tasking Simmons to find a cure to save Coulson. Meanwhile, the team equip the Zephyr with gravitonium for space travel and proceed to Corvus' ship. Daisy and May infiltrate the ship but are forced to surrender when Talbot incapacitates Daisy. Talbot kills Hal after she attempts to trigger Talbot's brainwashing. Later, Daisy is imprisoned and awakens a tyrant who plans to take her back to his home world. Yeah, so this episode's another fun episode of this. We're ramping up to the end of the season. We get Thanos' name himself dropped in this episode. I remember when I watched this episode a year ago, just after I should say Infinity War came out, because this episode they held out originally it was going to come out the same week, but then they moved Infinity War's premiere up a week, so I was able to see Infinity War, before this episode came out, and then we get that, little nod to the fact that these aliens know that the Confederacy know that Thanos is on his way to Earth for the events that unfolded in Infinity War, which I guess Thanos himself doesn't spend that much time on Earth in Infinity War. It seems like it's about a minute, maybe 30 seconds to a minute, maybe 2 minutes. It is a lot of that scene is in slow-mo, we have to remember, as we're watching it unfold. But yeah, Thanos just shows up in Wakanda for the most part. We're not talking about Infinity War. I just like that they did that nod. They didn't pretend that it wasn't happening, but I also like that most of the team don't know. Most of the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are completely unaware because they just don't check the news, because they think the things that they're dealing with are the most pressing matters, which in their defense a lot of the times it is. But when it comes to Thanos, that might be a little bit more debatable. Yeah, one of the things in this episode is also the official turn of Talbot. He turns on Coulson in this episode, call Coulson his biggest enemy at sometimes, or always been his enemy, and it's like, oh wow, how do you Talbot went he goes so bad so quickly, and it's so hard to get, I've already seen this obviously, but even rewatching I'm just like, oh Talbot, really? How do you not see that Coulson's just trying to help you? And May and Daisy show up, and you believe aliens before you believe Coulson? You've known Coulson a lot longer. Yes, Coulson you have a little bit of a history, and I'll admit, fair, Coulson wasn't always honest with Talbot, but they've gotten along for the most part. They were getting along literally hours ago, and then he gets the comment. It's really weird to me that the character doesn't have any kind of self-awareness to it at the same time, but I guess that's also part of being going villain, right? Yeah, it's still a kind of interesting turn with his character. I still, like I said, that's such a bittersweet one for me, because I liked I like Talbot's character more as a good guy, but this turn is also kind of interesting. I like this, if they had brought in a random character or a new character in this season for it to to be turned into this Gravitron or whatever his name ends up being, the evil guy in this season, for the end of the season at least, it wouldn't have not meant as much. So I like that it is Talbot. It's just also it's just one of those bittersweet ones, because him threatening Coulson and the team, it's just oh, why are you guys gonna do this? Why? But maybe that's the effect they were also going for, trying to create that little bit of emotion with us. But yeah, I enjoyed that. What else did we get in this episode? Oh, we got a little Daisy versus Yo-Yo fight at the beginning. Just a quick little skirmish, but they have been very on opposite opinions lately, and seeing things from very different points of view ever since we came back from the future. And then Yo-Yo's actions versus in killing Ruby. So yeah, they've had some tension, and they had to throw down a little bit, which I'm really curious to who would win that, because Daisy's got the more of the Yo-Yo's got the quick draw ability in a sense, meaning she's quick, but she also zaps back, so she's got to do all the damage in one of those, one of her yo-yos. Otherwise, Quake could just, if she's still standing, just bam, just throw her up against a wall. But that'd be an interesting fight to see, kind of play it a little further. But it was still kind of fun to see a little bit, and it shows the the tension building up between these two characters, and then ending with May telling Yo-Yo to be like, either contribute or just don't be here when you get back, which I think is like a very kind of interesting point coming from May, because it's like, okay, that's fair. All Yo-Yo's been doing since she lost her arms is just been complaining and telling everybody they're wrong and stuff. She did actually help with the one mission, but for the most part, she's been doing a lot of complaining as opposed to trying to contribute a little bit in some way. Like, I get that she's kind of doesn't agree with the way they're all going, but it's also like, well, we're sorry, everybody else is on board. Yo-Yo, you're the only one who's not. So it's kind of like, we understand your resistance, but at the same time, you got to either roll with us or not. And you see at the end, she joins Mac in the control room as the missions start, and kind of showing that she's willing to contribute and still be able to voice her opinion on the fact that she disagrees and still stick around. But she obviously still doesn't fully agree with the actions were going ahead. So that was just an interesting part they added into a lot of character stuff in this episode. But it was also balanced well with a little bit of action, particularly from Talbot using the Gravitonium abilities. What else do I have? Oh yeah, we got Caecilius' father showing up in this one and just being a straight up, con man, conning freaking Talbot and stuff. So I'm not really sure. I think I pronounced his name wrong all 3 times I read it in the summary, but yeah. But anyways, the last thing I have written down just is that the Zephyr goes to space, which was fun. One of the team mentions that it's S.H.I.E.L.D.'s first spaceship, and it's like, oh, that's a fun little fact, but I guess maybe I'm not sure if I'm trying to think if anything in Captain Marvel would disagree with that, if S.H.I.E.L.D. had a spaceship before then, but who knows. I only saw the movie once. Anyways, that's all my thoughts for this episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Be sure to let me know in the comments below what you thought about this episode. Thanks again for joining me today. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and have a good one.